It's here. The Clemson 2025 preview and prediction. And it's going to start right now. Welcome to the channel. If you love talking Clemson football, I hope you'll subscribe. It is free, and I do appreciate it. Before I go any farther, I will let you know about a giveaway that I've partnered with 1790 Knife and Tool. And if you go to this link, which is below the video, you'll see the rules. All you need to do is register using the form below this video and provide some content ideas for me and the channel, and I'll pick a winner, a runner-up, and a third place winner. Now, what's at stake? A Raptor knife for first place, a Firmus knife for second place, and a pry tool for third place. These are fantastic, custom, officially licensed tools. They're incredibly made, and Bill Mooney and the guys over there are just absolutely incredible. If you want to buy something and you want a discount, use DABO5. That's the code. You'll get a 5% discount, free shipping, and if you purchase something, you'll automatically be registered in this giveaway. I appreciate the partnership there. I've hesitated to do this preview because I haven't been this excited about Clemson football in a while. The term I throw around is cautiously optimistic. I got it from one of the viewers here. But I've been cautiously optimistic in this offseason, and as I've grown closer and closer to August 30th, which is now about a week away, 7:30 in the Real Death Valley against LSU, my excitement has just continued to grow cautiously. So today I'm going to talk about the Clemson football team. I'm going to talk about who they have coming back. Some of this you're going to be like, duh, I know that. But it's good to know. I'm going to talk about Clemson and their talent that's returning versus the rest of the country. Some of you have absolutely no clue what the rest of the country has coming back. And you're like, what does that have to do with a Clemson preview? It has everything to do with a Clemson preview. And I'll make that claim here in a moment. But let's dive right in to Clemson football. Now, we know some of the guys that we lost. Now, I have my notes here. In fact, I'm using a Phil Steele book because, well, it's easy to read all his stuff. But we know Phil Maffa's gone. Phil Maffa's gone. Brenningstool's gone. R.J. Mickens is gone. Barrett Carter is gone. Peyton Page, Shelton Lewis, they're gone. Trey Williams transferred. But who does Clemson have coming back offensively? Well, look no farther than starting with Cade Klubnik, a third-year starter, a guy out of 6A Texas football. He went 45-0. He had 3 state championships under his belt, including 2 as a starter. The guy has had one of the most difficult roads than any other quarterback, I would almost say, in the Clemson era. But he stuck around. He didn't hit the transfer portal. He didn't fold like a lawn chair when the heat started to come down on him. By the way, at Clemson, this is the most adversities he's ever had in his career. Remember when he came into the ACC championship game to take over for DJ as a true freshman? Remember, if my memory serves me correct, he was the MVP of that game. So everything was smooth sailing then. And then this guy comes back. He's gained a lot of weight, but in a good way. Last year, we saw him use his legs. That's a good thing. The guy is fast, but let no one talk trash about this young man and about his ability to play quarterback, because there's a lot of people out there saying crap about Cade Klubnik, or at least up to this season they have. But the guy has an arm on him. He can hurl the football. And that's a big deal for us Clemson fans. Now let's talk about at running back. One of the best kept secrets, in my opinion, in all of college football. Yes, Phil Maffa, and you know I'm a big Phil Maffa fan. Phil is gone. And this is going to be a running back by committee, and we believe that Adam Randall will be the starting running back, at least on paper. But you're going to see multiple running backs. You're going to see David Easy, and I'm going to leave his name alone there. Of course, freshman sensation Gideon Davidson, which if you look at some of these college football sites, college football social media pages, and they're talking about the upcoming freshmen for this season who should have an impact, Gideon Davidson is all over it. And they got that right. I think this guy's going to do very, very well. Look no farther than Keith Adams Jr., a wrecking ball of a human being. There's been some injuries here and there for others in the running back room. But with these 4 running backs, Clemson has a body for every situation, a skill set for every situation, different size types, different speeds, different abilities. And I think this is going to be one of the best well-kept secrets in college football that will eventually not be a secret. It'll be something that I believe will take advantage of opposing teams. Now let's move to the offensive line. Before I go to the wide receivers, I want to go to the offensive line. Let's start not with the players. Let's start with the coach. Hiring Matt Luke was one of the best hires that Dabo Swinney has ever made since he has been the coach at Clemson. And he's made some good hires. So when we look at the good hires and what it produced, and then the other hires that, didn't produce, it's obvious. The Brent Venables, bringing in Chad Morris when he did, putting Jeff and Tony together, they were very effective. We could talk about that. But let me tell you this. Matt Luke is one of those hires. In just his second season, just his first season in Clemson, South Carolina, that offensive line was immediately transformed. Cade had time. The running backs had time. The wide receivers had the time to actually complete their route. Cade Klubnik spent less time on his butt versus the last year. And yes, Cade, he threw less interceptions than he did the year before. But listen to me. You can credit that back to the offensive line as well, giving him time to throw the football. He's not having to be rushed. Now let's talk about some of the players you're going to see on the offensive line. Starting with Ryan Linthicum. This guy has been around a while. And he was a big recruit coming out of high school. But he kind of got lost there for a little bit. And I'm glad to see him come into his own and be a player that we know versus someone who came out of high school with a lot of expectation and never met it. Walker Parks. Walker Parks can play. He's another guy who's been around for a very long time. There's a lot of people who has a lot of faith in this guy. He knows what it's like to be in the big games because he's been around the program for a while. Look out for him. Next up, Blake Miller. Blake Miller, one of the top offensive linemen in the country. This guy can play. This guy, yet again, brings seniority to the line. He has the size. And if you look at Clemson's line, every one of them is over 300 pounds, and most of them are at least 310 pounds. So you have a big, aggressive offensive line led by a guru like Matt Luke. It just keeps getting better. We have Tristan Lee. Everybody goes back to that 2021 recruiting class. That was the last really, really good recruiting class that we had. Now, you're like, who was in that class? Happy to help out. Will Shipley was in that class. Martha, I believe Nate Wiggins, Jeremiah Trotter, if my memory serves me correct. But do you know that Tristan Lee was tied for the top recruit in that class according to 24/7 Sports? That's right. He was a 5-star. And his stop at Clemson has not been as productive or fruitful as he probably wanted. But now it's coming together. And I'm happy for the young man that it is. Clemson returns 4 out of 5 offensive linemen. Now, Colin Sadler, Colin Sadler's going to be stepping into this role. This guy's 6'6", over 300 pounds. And they're going to be rotating some guys in and out, but these are the ones to focus on. That's the reason why I'm excited about this team, as the trenches is looking good on both sides of the football. We'll get to the defense in just a moment. Now let's talk about the wide receiver room. The best wide receiver room since T. Higgins was standing on the sideline with Clemson. All those guys, Amari Rodgers, Hunter Renfrow, we remember it. You remember it. We all remember it. Guys like them on that sideline, you knew that if you just threw the ball near them, it was theirs. I don't care who you're playing. It was theirs. Last year, we saw the explosion of two freshmen, but out of respect for seniority, I'm going to start off with Antonio Williams. This is a guy out of the Columbia area. I mean, he could have easily been a Gamecock. I mean, he lived so close to the Gamecocks there in that Irmo area. He could fart and the Gamecocks could smell it. But instead, he came on up to beautiful Clemson, South Carolina, with the rolling mountains and the beautiful lake outside of there. Guy has multiple lakes. You didn't want to stay down there. Now, he battled through injury as a sophomore, but let me tell you this. Instead of letting it get in his head, he came out last year, and this guy was the leading receiver for the team with 75 receptions, 904 yards, and 11 touchdowns. And yes, that's with two killer true freshmen playing behind him. This guy is shifty. He's speedy, but he'll go up and get the football. He's not one of these little guys who gets hit here and there. I mean, he's not a massive dude. He's about 5'11", but you can hit him, and he'll hit you back. And he's just different. He has hands. He has athleticism, and I'm very excited for him. I'm going to move just a touch faster here. We talk about Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore. Bryant Wesco, 41 receptions, 708 yards with 5 touchdowns. TJ Moore, 45 receptions for 651 yards and 5 touchdowns. Two true freshmen. So now when they walk out on the field, you have these three guys that you have to watch out for. Now, Wesco is about 6'2". Moore is about 6'3". And the thing about Moore is he's over 200 pounds. Both of these guys are shifty in their own ways. They're agile. In the very moment you think you have them locked down, Cade will put the ball just near them and they get it. Who does that remind you of? I don't know. I was talking about T. Higgins. I think about the Mike Williams of the world. I think about the DeAndre Hopkins. I think about all of those wonderful players. Sammy Watkins. This unit, folks, is one of the best in all of college football. The experts know it. And then the true experts know it. And all of major college football is watching Clemson, South Carolina, in their wide receiver room. Now, I want to talk about someone else. And if you know, you know. It's 6'5", over 200-pound Tristan Smith. We got this guy out of the transfer portal. Dabo Swinney used the transfer portal this year. And he pulled in 3 incredible players. I'll go ahead and name them. Of course, Tristan Smith out of FCS. This guy, we're going to talk about what he did here in just a second. Will Helt, the incredible defensive end out of Purdue. And, of course, Jeremiah Alexander, former 5-star linebacker out of Alabama. At the spring game this year, I went there, took my son, my nephew, went there with my dad. My dad made it there early. And I didn't know what number Tristan Smith was. I didn't know he was number 80. And I sat down in my seat, and my dad told me, he said, I've been sitting here watching the team warm up. He said, I don't know who that number 80 is, but my goodness, he could play. This is warming up. And I was like, I don't know who he is. I couldn't see his name from across the field. It turned out to be Tristan Smith. That day, he had over 130 yards receiving in the spring game. And that's with Wesco and Moore and Williams playing. 6'5", over 200 pounds, and the man can catch. Yeah. Now, you can't forget about Tyler Brown, but people have forgotten about Tyler Brown. And I think that can work to his favor. He was hurt last year. So when you have these other four guys walk out there, an opposing defense goes, well, we got to cover them. And then Tyler Brown walks out there, and the defense has their hands full, and he's getting flipped in. You know, he's rotating in and out. This is a chance for Tyler Brown to remind everyone that he was not a one-hit wonder, that the guy can actually play. Now, let's talk about Cole Turner for a second. Cole Turner is an extremely fast player. He's one of the fastest players on the team. He can catch as well. This is an opportunity to get him involved. Again, kind of like Tyler Brown, while the defense has their hands full trying to cover one of these four incredible wide receivers and having to worry about Cade being able to run the ball, and then you have that massive 300-pound plus line that's experienced, led by an offensive line guru genius, Matt Luke. This is a chance to get him lost in the shuffle. And I think this could be extremely, this could work extremely in his favor. I said that really bad. You should make fun of me for that. Now, once again, let's talk about some of the players that Clemson has brought in. Let's not forget the tight ends. I'm about to jump over the tight ends. Y'all forgive me for that. Of course, Brendan Stoll, who had been there for a while, he's gone. Now, Christian Bettenker is a redshirt freshman. This guy is 6'4", 245 pounds. And I have heard reports that this guy is the man. He was highly recruited coming out of high school, and that's a big deal for Clemson. Now, of course, sitting behind him, and it's really not sitting behind him, because Olsen Pat Henry and Josh Sapp, these guys have been around for a while. And these guys can play football. And we know that Ian Shefflin, the 6'8" basketball player from the Clemson football team, he will be playing. He's going to be suspended for the first part of the season because of a poor decision. But this tight end room is loaded. Yet another opportunity for especially someone like Bettenker to get lost in the mix while the defense is having to pay attention to all the weapons I just named out, with a really good offensive line that has a lot of size. So let's talk about, on the offensive side of the football, who was recruited in. I'm just going to blast through this. I'm probably going to overlook something. Now, an offensive line, and you may see him worked into the rotation, he's not going to be a starter, is Braden Jacobs, 6'7", 310 pounds. The guy is a really good offensive lineman. We got out of high school. That size, it's going to be unbelievable. Unbelievable to have him out there. Rowan Byrne signed him. Easton Ware. You got Tucker Akatis, and we can't forget Chris Denson, the quarterback, who we signed at the very last minute. He's a lefty. He can move, so you could see him get worked in. Don't forget that Christopher Vizina, kind of going back to the quarterback room here, he's been biding his time. He has a lot of experience. That young man, he's a bigger guy, 6'4", 215 pounds. I'm hoping to see him in some blowouts this year. Some games that Clemson is blowing out the other team. Get him out there, get Vizina acclimated. I'll leave that right there. Now, let's switch over to the defensive side of the football. Hold on. Before we do, Garrett Riley, this is his crew. He has all the tools he'll need. He has the tools. So if he can get a TCU team to the national championship with the talent that they had versus the overwhelming talent that Clemson has right now, way more talent than that TCU team, they should have a special season. Let's flip over to the defensive side of the football. Now, as I said a little earlier, losing someone like R.J. Mickens, This is a guy who was the third leading tackler. He had seniority. He was like a quarterback, but on the defense. That's a big deal. Barrett Carter. Barrett Carter was a big recruit coming out of high school. He did well, but didn't have the past few years was not the seasons that he wanted at Clemson. Let's just be honest with ourselves. But it's very talented. You have Peyton Page. He's out. As I said, Shelton Lewis, gone. Trey Williams, transferred. But who does Clemson have coming back? Well, I know who is the new defensive coordinator. I know who's taking over. In the off season, Dabo made the decision to get rid of Wes Goodman. Or Goodwin. I said Goodman, like John Goodman. Why did I say that? Now, Wes, I think he's back at Oklahoma, or with Oklahoma, back with Brent Venables is what I'm trying to say. But here's the key. Tom Allen, a man who is highly respected as a defensive mind, a guy who has given people fits over the years with his defensive scheme, his passion, his aggression, and his expertise. After 1 year at Penn State, which, by the way, Clemson could not stop those few plays that SMU ran over and over in the ACC championship. Almost beat Clemson. When they tried that crap in the first round against Penn State, and Tom Allen was the defensive coordinator at Penn State, he turned it within their first few drives. He turned it into 2 pick sixes. He took away from SMU what Clemson couldn't. And that man now is guiding this defense, who returns 9 starters. So Tom Allen and his ability to coach and the receipts he brings to the table will be the difference. Now, there's been some questions by some of you who you and I agree on so many things, and I get where you're coming from. You're like, well, we know that Allen can coach, but can he make this team who couldn't tackle? That is a good question. On the other hand, had a different scheme been called, had certain players who, I don't know, Sammy Brown, who was tackling South Carolina players who others couldn't tackle, would Tom Allen put him on the sideline? A guy, one of the only guys who was making tackles, would he pull him? I don't believe so. Also, the scheme will set up players to be in a better position to make tackles. Next, Peter Woods. Peter Woods is a defensive tackle. He is not an end. That was a problem. So, I truly believe that Tom Allen will be a major reason that Clemson's defense returns immediately to a domineering, game-changing defense. And I really believe that. I'm very excited that we got him. That also is one of the best hires Dabo Swinney has ever made, hands down. And this guy hasn't even coached first down football. Let's talk about who Clemson has coming back on the defensive side of the football. Now, let's talk about this for a moment. If you watch any preseason talk, college football talk on any network, all the way down to small YouTubers, you hear about 2 specific players on Clemson's defensive line: TJ Parker and Peter Woods. And why not? I mean, Peter Woods is a machine. This guy is 6'3", 315 pounds. He's a human wrecking ball. He wreaks havoc wherever he's at. Then let's talk about TJ Parker. TJ Parker is one of those guys that you think you have him blocked, and then he still sacks your quarterback. You think that your running back is going to actually beat Parker to the edge, and somehow Parker swallows him up whole. And you're like, how can a guy who is 6'3", 265 pounds move that quick? How is it that a guy at that position can just get through a really good blocking scheme? It's because he has it, whatever it is. Now, a lot of people know these guys are coming for them. But don't you dare forget 6'5", over 300 pounds, over 315 pounds, DeMonte Capehart. DeMonte Capehart is going, this guy, I believe, could be the recipient of some big time plays because the opposing team is focusing on Parker and Woods and Will Helt. I'll get to him in just a second. We can't forget that guy. They're going to have their hands full across that defensive line. Don't forget guys like Cade Denhoff. That's going to slide in there as well. Don't forget about the true freshman, Amari Adams, the top recruit, according to which site you look at, of this past recruiting class, 6'3", 290 pounds. Don't forget about Steph Green. Don't forget about Heaven Brown Schuler. Don't forget about Darian Mayo, one of my favorite players to watch right now. 6'7", 265 pounds. Don't forget about him. Don't forget about Vic Burley, who's had so many injuries, folks, and I hope he gets some redemption this year. Don't forget about Zaire Patterson. Don't forget about Jaheim Lawson. See, I hear about we have questions at depth when it comes to the defensive line. I get what you're going for. But you forget guys like Caden Story as well. But you can forget about Jaheim Lawson. Jaheim Lawson has had an incredible fall camp. Preseason camp, whatever you want to call it. So when you get guys out on the line with players like TJ Parker and Peter Woods, and Will Helt hasn't played the first down at Clemson, and everybody knows he's already going to be a problem. I'm going to talk about him in a second. Once you name those guys out that I just named out, even some of them, I'm going to admit to you, until I looked down and saw their name there, I had forgot about them. It spells good things for Clemson. And this is all being guided by Tom Allen. He's guiding this. I know he's not their position coach, but it doesn't matter. This guy takes things personally. So I'll guarantee you when he looks at this lineup and he goes, whoa, hold on, I have who? And then he sees the guys who's behind them. He's like, oh, we can do this. I know how to run this. I'm good. Let's talk about Will Helt. 6'6", 265 pounds. Clemson got him out of the transfer portal, played at Purdue. The guy's ridiculous. Massive. In fact, I saw him in Haywood Mall here in Greenville about 3 months ago, and I'm going to tell you, that guy is massive. He looks like a flipping Viking. And I've seen a lot of football players that played at Clemson. I've seen a lot of football players that played for other schools. Will Helt looks like a Viking. And I admit I stared at him. And he could tell that he knew that I knew who he was. Now, I didn't go up to him and bother him. But I almost did. Clemson's defensive line is ridiculous. Let's talk about the size of these guys. Will Helt, he's on the edge, 265 pounds. DeMonte Capehart and Peter Woods, both of them are Peter Woods is 6'3", Capehart 6'5". They're both 315 plus pounds. TJ Parker, 6'3", 265 pounds. So those edges are normally more fit. I don't want to say fit, but you know what I mean. But they're quicker. They're more agile. They have to. You don't want that running back hitting the edge. You don't want that quick pass out into the flats turning into something more. Guys like Helt and TJ Parker, they can run that crap down. Now, let's move to linebacker. The 6'3", 235-pound Wade Woodaz. This guy's been around a while. For some of you, you may not even know this. You know who the leading tackler for the team was last year? Wade Woodaz. That's right. 89 tackles. Had an interception. You remember that interception against Stanford? Wow. I mean, he extended, son. If he extended any more, it'd have been a hyper extension. He had 6 pass breakups. You want to know who the second leading tackler on the team was all last season? He's also playing linebacker. Most likely will be a starter. Sammy Brown was the second leading tackler in his true freshman season, the highest rated linebacker we ever signed in Clemson history. And he still somehow didn't play against South Carolina last year. But remember, they pulled him off the field. He did play against them. They pulled him off the field. That's not going to happen with Tom Allen. Sammy Brown, 6'2", 235 pounds. You're going to see him a lot. Let's talk about Jeremiah Alexander. Ben Boulware, the Clemson legend, now helping with the linebackers under the guidance of Tom Allen. I think that's really good for Ben Boulware's career. That's a good thing. He needs somebody to guide him as well and take all that passion and stuff and bottle it up with really good scheming. I'm glad Tom Allen's guiding him. But Ben Boulware said, and I wanted to say that because I think it's very important. You can have zeal and not be productive. You can be passionate and not be productive. But if you have the right person mentor you, you can do some really good things. So I'm happy. I want to say that. Ben Boulware said that the two hardest working people he's ever seen in his life was Grady Jarrett and Mackenzie Alexander. Until Jeremiah Alexander. He said Jeremiah Alexander, this transfer linebacker, former 5-star out of Alabama, is the hardest working individual he's ever seen in his life. Now that's outrageous. You're going to see him play. You're going to see a lot of him. You're going to see a lot of Sammy Brown. You're going to see a lot of Wade Woodaz. You're going to see these guys at linebacker. You're going to see players who stepping up. You're going to see guys like, I don't know, Jamal Anderson. You're going to see more of Jamal Anderson stepping in. Of course, Drew Woodaz is on the team. A lot of people forgets about that. D. Creighton. Kobe McLeod. These are names that kind of get lost once you get the Wade Woodaz and the Sammy Browns and the Jeremiah Alexanders. It's a good mix. Next up, let's talk about Avion Terrell. One of, and in some people's opinion, the best cornerback in all of college football. Now, that guy up at Tennessee, a lot of people believes he is the top cornerback in the country. But, folks, I'm going to tell you this. When your cornerback or any of your players is being named, they're being named out consistently as one of, if not the best in all of college football, at that point, you're splitting hairs, and that's a good thing for you and your team. Avion Terrell came into Clemson, I believe, a 3-star, maybe a 4-star. And he has absolutely showed out. Avion Terrell was one of the leading tacklers on the team. He had 2 interceptions. He had 13 pass breakups. This guy is a lockdown corner. He's 5'11", 185 pounds of I'm going to shut you down. Yet another reason Clemson has a lot of hope in this defense under the guidance, the strategy, and the development of Tom Allen. Let's talk about Jaden Lucas. Jaden Lucas was a 5-star coming out of local Malden High School. Jaden Lucas has had a trying career at Clemson. He has been picked on by other teams. The game-winning touchdown thrown by Florida State in 2023, they went after Jaden Lucas. Some people has even asked why they put Jaden Lucas on Keon Coleman. It was kind of unfair to do that to such a young player, to guard one of the biggest players on the field and one of the top wide receivers in college football. It kind of felt like that was not putting him in a good position. I believe last year against Georgia, in the second half, the pass from Carson Beck to former Miami player Colby Young, the big 6'3", 6'5" wide receiver, snapped the ball, just threw it up. When no safety help, I think there was one over the top. That was Jaden Lucas. My memory serves me correct. Could be wrong, but I don't think so. Jaden Lucas is getting the nod. Could this be his year? Could this be his Nate Wiggins moment? Remember, Nate Wiggins got torched by Wake Forest, but he turned it all around, and Nate Wiggins is a beast. We can't forget Khalil Barnes, one of my favorite players from the 2023 season. Now, I know we don't want to talk about the 2023 season. Don't blame you. I don't blame me. I even kind of throw up a little bit thinking about 2023. It's kind of like 2020. I don't want to think about 2020. There's just so much that was just I didn't like about that year. In 2023 is a year it's Clemson football I don't want to talk about, but one of the bright spots, Khalil Barnes. Now, last year, Khalil did not have the season that a lot of people thought he would have, period. Khalil struggled at times. I won't say struggled. There was questions about whether he was in place or not, whether he would get out of place. But the guy still showed up and showed out. He had 4 interceptions last year, y'all. A lot of people forgets that. Khalil Barnes had 4 interceptions last year. And still at times you were kind of like, he didn't seem as dominant, but he was. Asher Hampton. Let's talk about Asher Hampton. The big interception against Virginia Tech. Ashton Hampton. I said Asher. It's Ashton Hampton. That one-handed interception. You're going to see a lot of him. And then at free safety, Ricardo Jones, 6'2", 195 pounds. This guy has the ability. He's a hard hitter. He's not too tall, but he's not short. Some other names to be looking out for, and it's easy to overlook some of these names. I just admit it to you. But I think I said Shelton Lewis was gone. Shelton Lewis is actually back. Y'all forgive me for that. Ronan Hannafin. A lot of people believes he'll do very well this year. Don't forget that Tyler Venables, believe it or not, is still on the football team. Let's talk about CJ Cuba Taylor. He's still on the football team. I mean, there's so many players. Corian Gibson, a very big recruit coming out of Florida, has kind of been quiet. Could we see him get involved? That's a big deal. Let's talk about special teams real quick. Nolan Hauser. I say Hauser every time, and I know it's Hooser. Nolan Hooser lives in infamy. That 56-yard field goal against SMU to give Clemson the ACC championship and put them in the college football playoff. That kid lives in infamy. The look to the sideline and the grin right before he kicked. The picture of him going around. How awesome is that, y'all? That's just absolutely in flipping credible. Now, for punter, I believe it's Jack Smith Jr. who will be handling the punting. But let's move on to, before we get to the schedule, I want to talk about, and hey, this is a preview. This is a long video. In fact, I spent more time on the defense than I did the offense. But I want to talk about coaching here for a moment. If you've watched my channel for more than 2 minutes, you know that I believe that coaching absolutely matters. And I'm seeing a bunch of comments here in the comments section. You know what I'm going to do? I know this is a preview. People's going to watch this. I'm just going to take a minute and say hello to a bunch of people. I am going to fly through this, y'all. So if I don't spend a bunch of time talking to you, I'm not being offensive. I still have a lot to do here, but I'm seeing some really incredible names in here. Roger Parks in here. Good to see you, my old buddy. Good to see you. Jack Shadwick. Buddy, we go way back. I hope you and the family are taking care of yourself. Tell Natalie I said hey. Tell your dad I said hey. Tell your grandfather. Tell your whole family I said hey, Jack. Good Lord. Devin Johnson, good to see you, my man. NC Vince, good to see you. Big John, we love Cole Turner. You love that 6-star. He's the only 6-star in college football. All right. Man, it's great to see your face, Morbo. Morbo, it's good to see you too, Morbo. Your son sat in this chair, if you're the one I'm thinking about. Stephen Marcus, 16-0 is the ceiling. I like it. Hey, you got to swing for the fences, y'all. Not a Clemson fan, but I love your honesty on Clemson, so I have to come by and show support. Thank you, Lake Show. It's very kind of you. I appreciate it. First Brian 3:23, it just keeps getting better. Did we just create a book of the Bible with my name in it? Oh, no. Oh, no. Stupefied, I don't know why I'm here. Good to see you, Stupefied. You know what? It's funny because I'm seeing names now that I only see during the college football season. And Stupefied is one of them. It's good to see you, buddy. Keep going down through here. Eddie Blackburn. Hey, Brian, been watching all these lives and had to join yours. I'm an SC fan, but son graduated Tigerville on full ride. Good luck this season. Y'all should be really good. Good to see you, my man. Bryce Atkinson. I'll be conservative and say 16-0. I just hiccup. Travis Hamrick. Hey, buddy, it's good to see you. Tiger Tom in here. Very much looking forward to see what Moore and Westco can do. We will sell you Bobby Durkins and Tyler from Spartanburg. They hate game chickens. That's funny. That is funny. RFD Mayberry. Almost time to start the season. I hope the Tigers have a great one. Trying to get through here to a few other names I saw. Girth Brooks, LSU fan here. I loved your show. Keep up the good work. I'll keep going to the game I will be going to the game with a buddy who's a Clemson grad. Good to see you. Salty Tiger. Sorry about comment yesterday. I'm sure we both close to each other. Nobody in TR loves the Tigers more than me. I just believe it's time to take the stress off, put the orange in our blood. It's good to see you, Salty Tiger. Chase Henderson, one of my oldest friends and buddies. May there to you, my man. May there. Good to see you, Chase. Miss you, dude. Miss you. Tell Parker I said hey. Kane, will Clemson secondary be able to cover receivers and make interceptions? Yes. Benjamin Bowen. Hey, Brian, past your bedtime, buddy. Ha. Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. Ethan LaCroix. Is it LaCroix or LaCroix? Yeah. You know, I've been corrected before, or I've noticed. Finally catching the live show. It's good to see you. Tiger Nate. I'm talking about OG, son. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. I heard Cole Turner is going to be calling plays this year. David Goodman getting in here. Joshua Leinert. I hope I'm saying that right. Brian, what's going on? It's good to see you, man. I'll be at the game next Saturday. Win the trenches, win the run game on both sides, win special teams. Kyle Allen, good to see you. Hey, listen, if you have not subscribed to this channel and you like talking Clemson football, or heck, you just hate the look on my face, and you know, you just like to put yourself through torture. I hope you'll subscribe and pass it along to anyone else who likes to talk Clemson football or who likes to hate my face. Subscribing is free, and I do appreciate it. And do not forget that I am doing a giveaway in partnership with 1790 Knife and Tool out of beautiful Pendleton, South Carolina. Yes, the same Pendleton that's right around the corner from Clemson. And it's a giveaway. So the details are here. All you need to do is register using the form below this video and provide some content ideas for me and the channel. And I'll pick a winner, a runner-up, and a third-place winner. The first place winner will get a Raptor knife. The second place will get a Firmus knife. A third place will get a pry tool. As I've said, this is not those knives that you go out to, I don't know, Target, or you don't buy knives at Target. I mean, really? Do they even sell knives? Probably plastic. But anyway, Walmart, you get you one of those cheap knives so you can clean your toenails and slice a tomato. You know who you are. You shouldn't be doing that, but at least wash it in between. But we know you're not. These are highly made custom. I really butchered that. These are unbelievable knives. These are custom knives. Notice the officially licensed Clemson knife. So if you're going to make a purchase, use code DABO5 for 5% off. You'll also get free shipping, and you'll be automatically entered in this giveaway. I said a lot there, y'all. I said a lot. Okay. Real quick, Mark Mealy, first-time caller. Enjoy your show. Good to see you, Mark. Good to see you. Okay. Let's get back to this. Okay, I'm if you're watching this 46 minutes in, you're either bored, you're either on the toilet, or you just turned on and you're watching me. Maybe you have your AirPods in and you're working third shift. More power to you. But I'm going to talk about coaching here. If you've ever watched my channel, you know that I beat this drum to the point that other people are just like, okay, we get it already. But do we really? Coaching matters, folks. It does. It does. Remember those years that Clemson was struggling? Dabo was still on the sidelines, not taken away from him. But you have to have more than one coach on the team. One man can't oversee all of that. So what's he do? He hires a defensive coordinator, and he hires an offensive coordinator. And then under them, they have position coaches, and they have assistants, and they have analysts, and they have GAs. And these guys are working together to ensure that right down to the granular level that the team is being developed. We saw what happened when you had guys who probably at this moment in their career, they were not Clemson level coaches. I didn't say they'll never be. I'm just saying at this point in their career. And what happened? The team did this, and Dabo had to fire them. You bring in Mad Luke, you say what happens. See, that proves me right. Tom Allen hasn't coached one down of football in a regular game at Clemson. We already know the defense is better. I know it. Most of you know it. And the ones who don't know it, either A, you don't know football, or B, you're just being rebellious because you don't like Clemson. Simple. Let's talk about the offense. I did a video last night, stirred the pot a little bit, and it was fun. And I'm not going to regurgitate that whole 40-minute video, but I'm going to tell you this. My one big breath hold, my I don't know, is the play calling on the offensive side of the football. Now, as I said, I'm not going to regurgitate that video, but here's the highlights of it. I don't care who's calling plays. I just want them to use the talent that Clemson has right now. I don't care who's influencing the play calling, if it's true or if it's not true, or if someone has said this or suggested that, no matter who they are. All I care is that when Clemson plays a really good football team, they don't become a bunch of conservative old people who can't move the football, only for the very next week when they play Butthole State, they run up the score and bring out every trick play in the book. It doesn't make sense. And if you think that makes sense, I really question if you've been paying attention to what you're supposed to do against really good football teams versus bad ones. Had to let that out. God forbid someone check my blood pressure after that. It's true. So running up 700 yards on Appalachian State sure is fun, but it doesn't make me forget that you basically gave up against Georgia. It was last year, Brian. You need to let it go. Okay, good. They better have. This is the most talented team that Clemson has had across the board since Trevor Lawrence was standing on the sidelines. When you play against really good football teams, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, whoever else is good in the year, when you line up against those teams, and I'll get to LSU in just a second. When you line up against those teams, folks, they have a bunch of talent. You have a bunch of talent. So all of a sudden, the playing field is level, pun intended. Normally, when Clemson goes out and plays a bad football team, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, they're elite. You can call normal plays, regular old lineup, spot the ball, call this play, and the other team, their talent's not nearly as good as Clemson, so Clemson just imposes their will and they win. But when you play the big boys, you play the Georgias, you play the Oregons. This year, Penn State has a lot of talent back with their starting quarterback. You're playing teams who has just as much talent as you do. Then it comes down to coaching. So if you go conservative, or if you call safe plays while the other team has the taste of blood in their mouth and they're ready to rip your head off, it's not going to end well for you. So I'm going to say this. I don't know if we're going to end up needing to apologize to Garrett Riley because someone was influencing his play calling, or we have to ask Garrett, why? And I'm just being honest. Why? Why are you conservative against the big football teams? And everyone is holding on to that. And I'm not even looking at the chat section right now. I have it turned off because my attention span cannot pay attention to a chat and do a live stream. I can't. So it's off. So if anyone thinks I'm talking bad to them, I can't see it, but I wouldn't be shocked if someone's rebutting me already. That Texas game was one game in 2 years to where the offense did not look pedestrian against a good football team. And that Notre Dame game in the 2023 season, all you had to do was hand it off to a healthy Phil Maffa, and he made them pay with 184 yards rushing. That didn't take a brilliant scheme to do that. So one game in 2 years against a really good football team has Clemson's offense had a strategy that made it look like their offense showed up. Their offense was showing up. The strategy for whoever was influencing was not there. That's the number one thing I'm holding my breath over this coming season. You have the offensive line. You have the starting quarterback. You have a wide receiver room with an embarrassment of riches. You have a talented running back room, and a lot of people think it's depleted, and your tight ends are pretty doggone solid. What else do you need? And I'm saying this to whoever's calling plays. I'm not ripping Garrett Riley. I'm just saying the defense is going to be much better this year. You have 9 starters back. And the talent who is walking out on the field at second and third string is pretty doggone good. You got a kicker that could kick a football from Clemson to easily South Carolina. You're not hurting there. You have the race car. You have the fuel. You have the pit crew. For goodness sake, don't wreck the car. Don't drive 55 when you should be running 220. Now let's get to the schedule. Everyone knows this game. LSU. Now, on my new channel, and it's brand new, I only have about 200 subscribers right now. It's called Another College Football Podcast. The link is below this video. So if you don't know about it and you like what I do, it's basically what I do on this channel. I'm just talking about college football as a whole. So I'm not just opinionated about Clemson. Trust me, I'm opinionated about a lot of things, and sometimes it gets me in trouble. But go check out that channel. In fact, click out of this video real quick and go subscribe and come back. But I have dove in to other football teams. Here's an interesting fact about Clemson. Clemson is one of just a handful of teams in major college football. I'm talking about major college football teams. I'm not talking about East Michigan or Western Michigan or the Dying Woodchucks of North Dakota. No, I am talking about major football teams, a who's who. Clemson is one of the only teams who returns the majority of their talent across the board and their starting quarterback. Who are the other two teams right off the top of my head? Penn State and LSU. Georgia lost a lot of experience, a lot of starters, and they have a new quarterback. Alabama, they return a solid amount of their experienced talent, but they have a new quarterback. Texas, I know right now, Texas is the everybody's anointing them as the number 1 or number 2 team in the country. That's interesting for a team who has a new starting quarterback. They lost over half their offensive line. They lost probably 80% of their offensive production. And on the defense, from what I can remember, and I tell you this, I'm going to do this live right here. I really don't care. I'd rather be right than wrong. Let me see how many returning players they have on the defense. They do have 7 returning players on the defense, but they lost 2 of their top 5 players. They only return, I believe, 4 starters on the entire offense. But apparently, if you're a starter and you're someone like, I don't know, Matthew Golden, Jaden Blue, Gunnar Ham, Isaiah Bond, I guess it doesn't matter. Oregon returns a lot of talent, but they have a new quarterback. Ohio State, they lost a lot of their starters, and they have a new quarterback. Clemson, on the other hand, one of a handful of teams that has their starting quarterback back, and the majority, I'm talking about vast majority of the talent on both sides of the football back, that plays in Clemson's favor. That's the reason I bring it up. Now, this game here against LSU, folks, let's go ahead and get some statements. Statements out of the way. LSU has talent. They've had talent for 25 years now. Also, for some of you who's shocked by this, water is wet and the sun is hot. And if you stick your tongue to a blue flame, you're going to be in a lot of pain. Duh. LSU has a lot of talent. They recruit well. They hit the transfer portal well. They have Garrett Nussmeier. I think Garrett Nussmeier is a good quarterback. I just don't buy into that he is a great quarterback. Now, I have a lot of LSU fans who's actually been watching my channel. Some, they just like to talk a little trash. They like to have some fun. Others, they get a little more offended, and then some people are in between. But there's one thing I can tell you, that Brian Kelly does have a high winning percentage, but in the big games, he's lost a lot of big games. At LSU, he's lost games he was not supposed to win. Do you realize LSU has not won a season opener in the past 5 years? Now, 2 of those years are with Ed Orgeron. The other 3 is with Brian Kelly. So, You can sit here and you can get a little irritated with me talking about Brian Kelly and who he has and what he doesn't have. But you got to remember last year they went on a 3-game losing streak. Texas A&M, Alabama, and Florida. That's pretty much how they closed out their season. Out of their last 5 games, they lost 3 of them. The year before that, when he had the incredible Jaden Daniels, he lost to Alabama, he lost to Mississippi, he lost to Florida State. The big games has been eluding him. In 2022, in his first season, I'll give him a break on his first season. He lost to Florida State, he lost to Tennessee, he lost to Texas A&M, and he lost to Georgia. He did beat Alabama in overtime. Do you notice a trend here? And this is with the talent of LSU, not Notre Dame. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Clemson on the defensive side is going to come out and they are going to be aggressive. But I go back to what I just said, holding my breath about the offense. This is definitely a winnable game for Clemson against LSU. Definitely. It's at home, Death Valley at night. But I just don't, and I'm not meaning this disrespectful to Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly's made a lot of money. And he has won a lot of games. A lot of people, including myself, would take his career easily. But I'm just not buying into his leadership in the big games. This is a toss-up, but I see Clemson winning this game. I think it will be a good game. And obviously, it's a game that they can lose. So I'm good. At the end of me going through the games, and I'm going to speed up a little bit. I know this has been a long preview, but hey, it's a preview of the team. It's on the channel. It talks about Clemson football. Expect it to be a longer preview. I will give you the best case scenario. I will give you the worst case scenario after I go through these games. Next up, Troy. Clemson will play Troy. This will be a really good game for Clemson to come out. No matter what happens in the LSU game, play good, consistent football, get some of the young guys the experience, get the continuity on the offense going even more. Even if they won against LSU, they still can get more continuity, get their a little more cohesiveness across the board. And this is a really good opportunity, folks, for Christopher Vizina to come in later in the game after Clemson's up by, 28, 30 points, get Cade off the field, keep him protected. Remember what happened to Jordan Travis with Florida State against North Alabama? Oh, that costed him, didn't it? Big time. Wasn't worth it, was it? No, it wasn't worth it. You should have put him on the sideline. Christopher Vizina needs snaps because most likely it will be his show next year. Don't do to him what Clemson did to Cade. Because a quarterback, they didn't want to replace him, but the quarterback was not working out. You can't do that. It's unfair. What happened to Cade was unfair. Don't do that to Christopher Vizina. And this is a game you can get him some experience. Next up, I won't say the number one, but I will go as far as to say the number one trap game and on Clemson's schedule is Georgia Tech. In Atlanta. You just came out of the LSU game. We don't know what happened there yet. I'm predicting Clemson wins it. LSU could win this ball game. But you go and you play Troy, you've had to beat Troy. If you hadn't beat Troy, something's wrong. But you You go into Georgia Tech, especially if you're undefeated. You got Brent Key. You've got Jamal Haynes at running back. You have Haynes King and all the Hayneses. That Georgia Tech team is a pain. They are a pain, y'all. And if you have your head stuck in the sand and you're overlooking Georgia Tech and their ability to play football, if you're focusing only on SMU or Miami, you are making a grave mistake. They returned 7 starters on each side of the football. They returned 4 out of 5 of their top tacklers. You can't go into this Georgia Tech game thinking anything other than we have to play and play hard. Because Brent Key can ruin it. I still see Clemson winning this ball game in a good game with Georgia Tech, a much improved Georgia Tech team. Next up, Syracuse. Fran Brown, what he did last year against, well, everyone. And it was his very first year coaching at Syracuse. After Syracuse, and I'm pulling up their schedule as we speak because I want to look at the past few years. Syracuse had not been good. In fact, last year they finished 10-3. Before that, they were 6-7, 7-6, 5-7 in 2021, and they were 1-10 in 2020. Now, last year, as I said, was Fran Brown's very first year. They went 10-3. Unbelievable. Here's the sad thing. They only return, I believe, 2 offensive starters. The quarterback, Kyle McCord, gone. I mean, they return very little on defense. They return 6, but it's like most of their production defensively, top tackler, third top tackler, gone. I mean, it's crazy. Leading rusher, gone. Jackson Meeks, Trevor Pena, Oronde Gadsden, gone. Clemson's going to beat this team. Fran Brown's a good football coach, but it's just too much. And Clemson, it has too much working against him, and Clemson has too much working for it, especially with this game in Clemson. Now, Clemson's going to take off the very next week. They'll be off. Then they are going to go play Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Now, I'm going to tell you straight up, I've said this so many times, it is very difficult for me to get a handle on the University of North Carolina, what's actually going on there, because there's so much more than football going on. In this offseason, that's all we've heard about. We've heard about Bill Belichick. We know who he is. We know what he's done. But we've been hearing about his personal life more than we've been hearing about North Carolina football. Now, sure, they brought in Gio Lopez. They have guys like him coming in. But overall, their leading receivers are gone. Omarion Hampton, one of the best running backs in college football, gone. Their leading passer transferred out to East Tennessee State, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that's Jacoby Criswell. I mean, the ticket is going to be expensive, but Clemson's going to win this ball game. Next up, let's talk about Boston College. Bill O'Brien can coach, but there's just too much to do in Chestnut Hill. You lost Thomas Castellanos. He's now the quarterback at Florida State. That's a team to pay attention to. But at the end of the day, Boston College, they're not really bringing much to the table. In fact, if you look at where they rank in the ACC that has umpteen thousand schools in it now, and they're all over. I mean, they even have an ACC school from Bangladesh now. I don't know if you heard about that. The travel is absolutely horrendous, but I mean, it's Bangladesh, but it's part of the ACC. They said the TV market was semi-good. Basketball is really good, but I mean, they lost their leading rushers. Their 2 leading rushers, they lost them. They do return their 2 top receivers, but overall, this team, I mean, they lost most of their defensive production. Their leading tacklers is back. Their 3rd and 4th leading tackler is back. After that, it's just everything's felt. They're gone. Clemson's going to beat Boston College. Let's talk about SMU. It was really incredible what they did last year, being that this was their first year in the ACC. Let's not take away from what they did. They could have fell apart. They could have laid a golden turd because they were playing bigger schools. But they didn't. They went 11-3. They got to the ACC championship in their very first year in the ACC. And they made it to the first round of the college football playoff. But strength of schedule is something that ticks off a lot of people. And if you're a non-SEC fan, it really ticks you off to hear SEC fans talk about their SEC schedule. And I know why it annoys you, because sometimes it annoys me the same way, but strength of schedule is a thing. The interesting thing about SMU, and yes, what they've done was incredible. Don't want to take that away from them. The interesting thing about them was that their most impressive win last season was Louisville. They played Nevada. They played Houston Christian. They beat them. They lost to BYU. They beat TCU. They beat Florida State. They beat Louisville. They beat Stanford, Duke, Pittsburgh, Boston College, Virginia, and California. Almost lost to Duke. But we're not talking about a Mike Elko, Riley Leonard Duke team. It was a good Duke team for Duke, but it wasn't amazing. But notice they didn't have to play Clemson. Notice they didn't have to play Miami. Well, this year that changes. This year SMU has to play at Clemson. This year they play Miami for homecoming. They play Louisville. And Baylor even supposed to be solid this year. It's even Phil Steele picks them, Baylor, to win the Big 12. We'll see about that. They return a lot of their team, and they have their starting quarterback back. They have a lot of offensive production back. We'll see how Dave Aranda and the boys does. SMU has Kevin Jennings back. But overall, for offensive production, that's pretty much it. Clemson's going to win this football game. It's going to be big on paper. Coming into that game, everyone's going to be talking about. They're going to be talking about SMU. SMU very well could come into that Clemson game with only one loss to Baylor, maybe even beat Baylor, and come into that game at Clemson undefeated. And you're like, how could you say that? Well, they play East Texas A&M, which I didn't know was a thing. Baylor at Missouri State. Ooh, I bet that's scary. You play at TCU. They haven't been good in a long time. They're off. They play Syracuse, a team that I just told you that basically lost everything, including their the color in their jerseys. And Stanford. The only reason you should be scared of Stanford is if they break out an academic challenge. At that point, run. And it will look good, and people will be talking about, oh, this is a rematch of the ACC championship. And then they're going to have to play, and Clemson's going to beat them. Let's talk about Duke. Manny Diaz in his first season there. They did pretty good by Duke standards. I mean, they really did. They went out and they won with Malik Murphy, the transfer out of Texas, who's, well, no longer there. They went 9-4 last year. But they lose their leading running back, Star Thomas. I said Malik Murphy, he's gone. Jordan Moore, the incredible wide receiver, gone. Their second leading wide receiver, I won't even take a shot at his last name, gone. Now, if my memory serves me correct, They have 4 starters coming back on offensive line, and that will help them. They have Darian Mensah, the quarterback, transferred out of Tulane. But Clemson is going to be too much for them. Listen to this. Their 3 top leading tacklers, gone. They do return Terry Moore, a guy who had 4 interceptions. This is going to be Duke in Clemson. By the time they play Clemson, the toughest games that they would have played is at Tulane, which will be interesting for Mensa, and Georgia Tech. They very well could come into this Clemson game with maybe 1 loss. And just like SMU, Clemson's going to beat them. Florida State, my old buddy TJ over at College Football Addiction. You should go check out his channel. Here's something interesting for you when it comes to Florida State. Yeah, they went 2-10 last year. And yeah, a lot of us in the country laughed. And yeah, we had to tell people, we look, I'm not dogging DJ, but I'm just saying Florida State fans was like, Norvell's going to fix DJ. And it's not just DJ. We have all this talent we've brought in. Haven't you heard of Ja'Kai Douglas? I'll never forget someone talking to me like I was a 3-year-old. I wonder where that person, what happened to that person when they went 2-10? This Florida State team, do not be fooled one moment about this team because of last year. Now, on my new channel, yes, shameless plug, another college football podcast, I actually broke down the Florida State team in about 11 minutes. Norvell fired everyone. I think he even fired the chaplain. I'm just kidding. Maybe he did. Brought in Gus Malzahn, former Auburn head coach. Now, you can have your feelings on Gus Malzahn, but I'm going to tell you right now, that man gave Nick Saban fits. And Gus Malzahn, when he is coaching against a top team, he will bring one of the best schemes you've ever seen in your entire flipping life. The problem with Malzahn is when he is coaching against teams, he doesn't have to bring his best. And that's where he's got in trouble. He is the offensive coordinator for this team. And they brought in Tony White, the defensive coordinator from Nebraska. Their entire starting lineup for the offensive side of the football is basically all transfers. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, that should be an easy win. No, I don't think so. I think this Florida State team is probably going to win 7 or 8 games this year. And I think that they could even upset maybe Miami. They could possibly upset Florida. And if Clemson has their head stuck in the next week against Louisville, thinking about that game, only 6 days after the Florida State game, they may be able to get Clemson in Clemson. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it's possible. You're not playing last year's team. I see this being a solid game unless something dumb has happened with Florida State. Clemson wins this ball game. Next up, Louisville. If you have watched my channel for more than 5 minutes, and I think I've said that saying about 6 times now, so I need to come up with something new. Maybe ask ChatGPT to give me something a little more, I don't know, diverse. You know that I have a lot of respect for Jeff Brom. I don't know him personally. He may be a terrible person. He may be, the Apostle Paul for all I know. I don't know. But I have a lot of respect for him as a strategist and for getting the most out of his team. Now, last year he went 9-4 in his second season. Beat Clemson at Death Valley at night. That's the first loss for Clemson at home at night since, I believe, 2013. It was Louisville who did it. The year before that, he got his team to the ACC championship. He has his alma mater rolling. Now, they lost Tyler Shuck to the NFL, and he had 1 year with Tyler Shuck. Isn't that funny? 1 year. 1 year. Year before that, he had another quarterback. But get this. This will be year 3 for Jeff Brom, and he will have a third starting quarterback. And I'm still kind of freaked out by him. This game is a Friday night in Louisville. Clemson could walk into this game with only 1 loss or completely undefeated. Now, Louisville, coming into this game, the toughest game they will have played up to this point would be at Miami. And that would be back on October the 17th. There's a good chance this is a top 10 matchup. And for Louisville, they return their two top rushers, Isaac Brown, Duke Watson. Now, at wide receiver, they lost their leading receiver, Ja'Cory Brooks. He's gone. But they return most of their offense. They return most of their defense. Defensive starters. Or a solid amount of them. I don't know why I said most. Solid amount of them. Folks, I'm telling you right now, a Friday night has not been good to Clemson. Playing on weird nights like Mondays and Fridays, not good for Clemson. You're like, well, remind me. Yeah, losing to Duke in 2023, that was a Monday night game. Another off night. I'm not talking about a Thursday night. An off night game. Friday. It was a Friday night. Clemson went up to Syracuse in 2017. Kelly Bryant was the quarterback. They knocked him slap out. And then from that, it was the Country Bear Jamboree from that point on. Clemson lost their only game of the season that night. So on top of it being a Friday game, you're playing against a really good coach in his house. Jeff Brom coaches up for moments like these. This is a game we can lose. And you're like, really? With all the talent that you just spit out over the past hour and a half? Yeah, this is a game we can lose. Yep. If we lose a game, it will be here. Or Louisville. LSU at this time. The two teams that starts with an L. Kind of weird, ain't it? Let's get in here. Furman and Clemson. The Paladins is not too far from where I live. Has a beautiful little campus out there. And yes, on their website, it says Greenville, South Carolina. But if you've ever driven out there, you know it's much closer to Travelers Rest. In fact, you can fart at the Furman campus and Travelers Rest will stink. That's how close it is. Clemson beats the Furman Paladins. And then the game that a lot of people has their eyes on right now in the country. And Clemson fans should have their eyes on this for much more than just the rivalry, but for payback out of the past 2 out of 3 years. How it went down. South Carolina Gamecocks. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close out this screen because I'm going to talk about the South Carolina game here for a second. When I was watching CBS Sports Inside College Football the other night, I'm not having an earthquake. I'm just adjusting this because my leg's kind of tired. They talked about South Carolina. They talked about Lenoris Sellers and Shane Beamer. They did not make, and I'm not knocking CBS Sports. I watch CBS Sports. For some reason, I like watching it. They never made mention that South Carolina lost almost every major defensive producer on their team, except for Cisse and Dylan Stewart. You never heard that. From major media, you never hear that the South Carolina Gamecocks lost almost every major defensive player on their team. You don't hear it. You're like, Brian, prove it to me. I'm gonna pull up the roster right here, and I am going to prove it to you. But if you go and you watch my my new channel, Another College Football Podcast, I went over this. The Gamecocks lost Nick Emanwari, their top defensive tackler. Their second defensive tackler, Demetrius Knight. Their third leading tackler, Baum Martin Scott. Debo Williams, their fourth leading tackler. TJ Sanders, their fifth leading tackler. Their seventh leading tackler, O'Donnell Fortune, is gone. Kyle Kennard is gone. Tonka Hemingway, gone. Obviously, to Gamecock fans in the country, that means absolutely nothing. Now, as a Clemson fan, I know that after this season, we lose a lot. And I'm going to enjoy this season as much as I possibly can and hope that our coaching staff takes advantage of the talent that they have right now. But I am telling you one thing, this time next year, it's a rebuild, baby. Why? Because you lost a lot of talent. But apparently for the Gamecocks, a team that for most of college football has nothing to talk about other than George Rogers, and he was incredible, and a few okay years with Steve Spurrier where they beat Clemson 5 years in a row. They have nothing to talk about. They have no SEC championship. They have no national championship, definitely. But apparently losing all of that top talent on the defense, losing their leading running back, losing Joshua Simon, their top wide receiver, that doesn't matter. Not at all. It doesn't matter that they lost Dowell Loggins, their offensive coordinator last year, who's now the head coach at Appalachian State. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We're not talking about Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State or Oregon or Texas who reloads. I mean, most of the time you're shooting blanks. What is there to reload? Now, that South Carolina team was one of the hottest teams in college football last year, and I will show respect to them for that. And Lenoris Sellers is an incredible athlete. But what do you do to him to make him have to throw the ball and throw the ball high? Rush him. That's it. You can't let him run loose, and that's what Clemson allowed him to do. And our second leading tackler, who was one of the only ones who could tackle a Gamecock last year, for some reason, was pulled off to the sideline. This is going to be a rivalry game. And Clemson knows these guys. Now, South Carolina, their schedule this year includes LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and then, of course, Clemson. By the time they get to Clemson, this team could be beat up. This team could be a top 10 team. I don't see that. I'm not saying South Carolina couldn't win some of these games and be in the top 20 and play Clemson really well and even potentially beat them because they do have talent there. But they did lose a lot, and that's what you're not hearing about. From the very same people who's telling you that that Texas is ranked number 1 in the country, but they won't tell you how many players they lost last year. And they act like all of that offensive production means absolutely nothing. I find that hard to believe, folks. If you have any football acumen, you know for 1 second it does matter. Even if you're in a spirit of denial or you're absolutely hammered drunk, you know it matters. South Carolina is going to play Clemson hard because that's what they're going to do. And Beamer is a good coach, whether you like him or not. To do what he's done at South Carolina is more impressive than what Steve Spurrier did. You go, what? Are you really saying that about him versus the old ball coach? You know why? Because the old ball coach already had history on his side. He was the man. He used to run up 60 and 70 points against any and everybody all the time. Won a national championship. Heck, even as a player, won a Heisman Trophy. Shane Beamer doesn't have that. He has a dad who's well known for taking a Virginia Tech team to some really good places, and the team hasn't been worth a crap since he left. Talking about old man Beamer. But just because your dad can coach doesn't mean that you can. And Beamer's done it. So you better darn well be sure that Shane Beamer's going to bring his best in this game. But you can't overlook that they've lost so much experienced, worthwhile, major contributing talent. And if you do, again, you just don't like Clemson, or you're intoxicated. It does matter. And it will matter for us Clemson fans a year from now when Klubnik's not there. And when a bunch of these guys I named out tonight are in the NFL or graduated. It's going to matter. I think Clemson gets payback and they beat South Carolina. So let's go through this again. Quick. What are the games I could see being a loss? Obviously, LSU. Maybe Georgia Tech as a dark horse. They can do it. Louisville, absolutely. And potentially South Carolina. What do I think Clemson will do, best case scenario, for this season? It's really hard to go undefeated. I don't care who you are. It really is. I'm looking best case scenario, 11-1. You get to the ACC championship. You win it. You get to the college football playoff. And if that offense is really kicking, you can make a run to the national championship. I did not say that you would win it. Clemson's offense, for me to say that, Clemson's offense, not the players, whoever's calling the plays is going to have to prove to me that they are lethal. And if Clemson's offense is lethal against really good football teams and the defense does what I think it's going to do, Clemson can and will potentially win a national championship. But I've got to have that offense proving it to me in the big games against LSU, against Louisville. You can't lay a golden turd against Georgia Tech or let your guard down against a Florida State or get caught up in the rivalry with South Carolina. If your offense is potent, Clemson could very well go undefeated. But I'm looking at 11-1 right now with a potential loss to either LSU or Louisville is who I'm really paying attention to. What is the worst case scenario for Clemson? 3 losses. And to quote one of my family members who's a massive Clemson fan, he and I were talking about this, 5 months ago. Clemson loses 3 regular season games, and I'm talking about 3 regular season games. It is a catastrophic failure with this roster. I don't know what else you need to win. I really don't. Would this be the greatest Clemson team ever? Sure. The answer is no. The answer is Trevor Lawrence has something to say about that. 2 years of Deshaun Watson. In fact, that 2015 team that didn't win the national championship but lost it to Alabama by 5 points, I think that was a better team than the one that won it in 16. If you go look at the stats, you look at who they beat. But this is one of the best teams we've seen in a while out of Clemson. And when you take into consideration that on the other side of college football, I named out all of those teams who lost a lot of their talent and their quarterback. They have a new quarterback. This plays in Clemson's favor, folks. So, in the regular season, if Clemson loses 3 ball games, it's a catastrophic failure. It really is. Best case scenario, obviously Clemson wins a national championship. That would be the very best scenario. But I'm going to have to see a lot of things out of them at this point. All right, folks. Whew. That's an hour and 34 minutes. I didn't even plan on going that long, but hey, you want a preview and you've been asking me for a preview, be careful what you wish for because I will give it to you. I'm going to get into the comment section here at the very, very end. There's just so many of you in here, but I'm going to say hello. We got Travis Hamrick in here, said I'm working third. We got Keith Louder in here. I've been saying all week, I hope if we lose it, it's because of the players and not the coach, and that would be Tough disappointment. We got Matthew Johnson here. We got Nam29 just found out Auburn added a championship. What the heck? Yeah, that's funny. Got Joshua Liner in here. Brian Kelly is 1-3 against Alabama. Army 32-27. Going on down here, neutral. Our toughest games will be the teams with a solid run game like Louisville, SMU, and USC. Our D-line struggles to make tackles against the run. Let's go on down here a little more. Let me see. Got a bunch of comments in here from Army 3275. At least Beamer didn't take the job partly to get a master's membership. That is true. All right, folks. That's the end. I'm predicting. I just gave you my prediction. You can run it back, put it on speed up. I'll probably chop up this video and drop it throughout the week because there's so much here. Folks, if you like what I'm doing, I hope that you will subscribe. I hope you'll pass it along to your buddies. Anyone who loves Clemson football, I'm asking you to. We can grow the channel. It would be a lot of fun. I hope you will do that. Also, don't forget the giveaway with 1790 knife and tool. The link is right below this video. Go fill out that form. You may win. You may win. Give me some ideas, some content ideas on here. And if I pick you, hey, you'll win an expensive knife or a prize tool. So do that. Also check out the new channel I have, another college football podcast. I know a lot about these other teams because I'm working on that other channel. And I'm going to tell you, it is eye-opening. It is eye-opening to sit and listen to the major media talking heads. And they never mention a lot of the experience, a lot of the coaching changes that I am noticing. And folks, I'm drinking from a fire hose, diving into these teams. I'm sitting here going, is someone just not giving them notes, or are they just excluding this on purpose? Is it a combination of the above? But anyway, it's interesting. Greyhound, I'm so on board with the show me the money reservations about the offense. Yeah, man, that's the only thing. That's the only thing. Folks, y'all take care of yourself. And as always, go Tigers.